What's up, you guys? And I hope that a lot of you are out and enjoying the run, especially since we're getting into the autumn weather. It's a really beautiful time of year to be able to go out and enjoy a really nice run, particularly if you live in the northern states or you live in areas that actually have changing of the season. Unfortunately, I live here in Florida, so there's really not much that changes except for the license plates. Those change colors. But I'm going to give you my top 5 things that I've learned in my 2 years, a little over 2 years of running. And these might be important for you as a runner. Some of you that are maybe novice or newer runners, some of this might be beneficial for you. As like I said, the reason why it's called Average Rob Runs is because I'm an average guy. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a guy that does this professionally and does marathons and whatnot. I am just a regular person that just decided to take up running one day and went on from there. And now it's kind of something that I just enjoy as a pseudo hobby-ish. And I'll get into some of that here in a second. So my top 5 things that I've learned from running over the past few years. I'm going to start with number 5. Number 5 is about shoes. And I know I've done these shoe videos for a while, but having a good pair of shoes makes a huge difference. When I started running, I was really running on a worn out pair of like Asics, I think that I had. And honestly, they were really cheap shoes. They weren't really that supportive or really that good. So when I started running, I couldn't really run very far and my feet would hurt, my ankles would hurt, my knees would hurt. I was also a lot heavier too, so that plays a role in it as well. But having a good pair of shoes makes a huge difference. So when I first started running, the very first pair of actual running shoes that I got was a pair of Nike Downshifter 7s. Very cheap. Went to a local store to pick them up, and that was my first pair of running shoes. And that's when I learned that having a good pair of running shoes makes a world of difference in your stamina, in your comfort, in the ability to run. It also helps train you. Having a really good pair of shoes helps train you into a proper running technique. So, like I said, my very first pair was a pair of just cheap Nike Downshifter 7s, and that really got me started. After a couple 100 miles, then I upgraded and went to another shoe from there. So, having a good pair of shoes and then realizing that when your shoes wear out, when you start getting uncomfortable, when you start having knee, hip, ankle pains, shin splints, sometimes even runner's knee, that's when you know that you need to get a different pair of shoes. And that's why there's a lot of runners that use a rotation of shoes, like myself, where I have my shoes in a rotation, where I have a different purpose for different shoes. Now, a lot of you that are starting or maybe average person, you don't need multiple pairs of shoes. So finding a good pair of shoes that will last you mile after mile, while allowing you to train and become a better runner, makes a huge difference. So, but just realizing the importance of a good pair of shoes can make the world of difference as far as your running is concerned, and it will help you actually enjoy running a little bit more if you have a good pair of shoes to work with. So number 4, I put it as number 4 on here because the next 4, to be honest with you, they could go in any order. But I would say nutrition is going to be my number 4 on the list. So we all know how important it is to have a very healthy, nutritious diet, maybe cutting out some of the carbs, cutting out sodas, so on and so forth. Well, some of it's true, some of it may not be true. In fact, for running, because you burn so many calories and your body uses so much energy, sometimes certain carbs are actually good for you. Even, dare I say it, but sometimes eating pasta is actually okay for you because you're burning so much of that energy. And sometimes you look at calories, and that's what we focus on, is calories so much. But you also have to look at what your body is using to expend that energy. And that's a lot of those sugars, a lot of those carbs that your body needs. Now, I'm not saying just load yourself up on carbs. I will refuse to say that. You have to do it in moderation, but Carbs, certain carbs are actually okay for you, because if you're continuously running like I had been doing, some of those carbs are actually good for you to maintain a healthy energy level. So that is something to look into. But of course, eating proper fruits and vegetables, that's a great thing. Eating high protein, lean protein meals, such as fish, chicken, so on and so forth, also very good things. And dare I say it, but keto diet is fantastic. I'm not a big fan of keto, but I've seen so many people use it, and it is a fantastic diet method. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for people that are looking into getting into athletics, because you do need some of that, the protein and the carbs and whatnot for running. So that's also something to consider, is depending on the diet plan you go on. It's really, in all honesty, how I lost a lot of weight was just monitoring how much I eat and maybe cutting back on how much I eat. I didn't change what I ate, but I just cut back on how much I may eat. So rather than going to where I live in Publix, or where I live in Florida, Publix is a huge, thing. So going to Publix and getting a pub sub, maybe eating half the sub, rather than the whole sub, even though a chicken tender pub sub is probably like one of the best things you'll ever have to eat here in Florida. But it's just something to think about. Cut yourself down and eat in moderation is basically what I'm saying. You can eat whatever you want, just eat it in moderation. Is probably the biggest thing. Number 3, and I spend a lot of time with this, is stretching. Stretching is a huge thing. I take, I'm not joking, probably 30 minutes before I even go for a run, and I'm stretching all different ligaments and muscle groups and whatnot before I even go for a run. It does a couple of things. One, it warms up your muscle system, but you can't rush stretching. You need to take your time. You need to stretch. Each muscle group that I do is at least 30 seconds each muscle. And like I said, I'll take 30 minutes before I even go for a run, to stretch everything, anywhere from my knees, my ankles, my calves, even my feet. I do various things to stretch the tendons that are in my feet, before I go for a run, but things that can help loosen up those hip muscles or the hip groups, joints and whatnot, to kind of keep yourself going. And dare I say it, but even stretching certain parts of your upper body also makes a huge difference on your running, because you use a lot of your core muscle groups in order to run long distances. So that's a huge thing. And then kind of a caveat to that also has to do with breathing. So when you're breathing while you're running, you kind of have to focus on, with that core muscle group, you kind of have to focus a little bit more on keeping yourself up, your arms, your shoulders back, you're standing tall and proud is basically what it is. And when you're running, it's you want to be tall and proud. Right now, with all of us having to sit at home, we're so used to sitting in front of a computer arched over. Our bodies will naturally kind of do that now as you're running. You kind of have to keep an eye on that and keep a mental note as you're running to just stand tall and proud and breathe deep using your diaphragm. And that's the thing, using breathing techniques even before you go for a run, and then warming up. So that kind of all, doing a pre-workout, I guess you could say, before going for a run. So stretching, breathing techniques, doing things to kind of get loose and move around, and so that when you go for a run, you're not cramping up, you're not running into those muscle issues that tend to go. And that actually helps with multiple things, stamina, so on and so forth, even energy, to be honest with you. So number 2, I have this listed as competition. And the reason I have this listed as competition is because we use technology so much today. Now, whether you use your phone or your watch, or if you have a Fitbit or something, you're using Strava, or one of the other apps. I use Nike Run Club, and the problem that I had for a long time was not only competition with other people, such as my friends that are also on Nike Run Club, but competition with myself, because I'd always listen, as it comes up every mile, telling you your time, your distance, your so on and so forth. And I would always kind of say, oh, I need to push myself further. I need to push myself further. I need to be faster than where I'm at. It would give me a time of like, say, 8:50 a mile. And I know that I need to be around 8:45 or 8:40 a mile because I want to be faster than I was yesterday. And so you become competitive with yourself. The problem with that is you tend to mentally focus on that a little bit too much, and that can actually cause some injuries. There's a time and a place to be focused on that. There's a time and a place that you can train yourself for that, but you can't focus on being competitive every single day, and you need to kind of take a step back and maybe not focus so much on the times that you're putting down or the distance that you're putting down. If you don't feel that you can go a full 5K or 10K today, don't do it. Don't put in it. If you feel that you can only do 2 miles today, just do 2 miles. If you feel that you can only go 4 miles today, do 4 miles. Always try to push yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to injure yourself, and you don't want to have yourself break down because you now all of a sudden you feel like you've taken steps back. Every day that you go for a run is a step forward, regardless of what time you put down and regardless of what distance you put in. Every day that you run is a step forward. Every day you run is a training session, regardless of how you performed during that run. So we can't, as runners, you can't focus, and even athletes altogether, you can't focus so much on competition as much as you can as think about is every day getting better. And as I always say, go out and enjoy the run. Some days you just need to get out and just enjoy a run. Throw some headphones on, listen to some music, or just take your headphones off and enjoy nature. Listen to the birds and just nature around you. And sometimes that alone is enough to kind of motivate you during the run to just relax and enjoy everything that's around you. So that is a huge thing for me that I've had to get over, was the competitive side of it. So some of these were mistakes that I made along the way. Like I said, going back from shoes to nutrition, I like going to shoes. I started off with a really bad pair of shoes, and then I've learned over the years how important it is to have a really good pair of shoes. Nutrition, when I lost a ton of weight, and I lost a ton of weight really fast, I wasn't eating properly. I'm be completely honest with you. I was eating, now granted, I cut sodas out altogether. Anything that was like a sugary drink was gone. So water is pretty much all I drank. And so that helped lose a lot of weight. But I also wasn't eating properly the way that I was. I wasn't eating my, a 3 meal a day type of plan. I wasn't eating the proper stuff that I should have. I was essentially starving myself while running because I wanted to lose weight, and I wanted to lose weight fast and efficient, in a very inefficient way, but I just wanted to lose weight, and that's what I was solely focused on. So nutrition was a huge thing that I made a mistake on, and I've learned that I need to actually eat and do those things. And yes, have I put, from my lowest point, did I put on a couple of pounds? Yes, I did. But at the same time, I'm still healthier now than I was then, but I also feel better. I don't break down as easily. So if that makes sense, my body doesn't break down after a run like I was, and I was pushing myself too hard. The stretching, I've learned over the years that, there's a basic stretch that you can do, but then when you really start getting into stretching, you can run so much better and so much more efficiently and just enjoy a run better because your body's not going to break down. And then, like I said, competition, I was pushing myself way too hard because I wanted to be better than everybody else. And in fact, for me, at one point, I think there was 1 month I did like 180 miles of running in a month. And granted, that was when I had lost all the weight, but I was barely eating anything, but I was pushing myself just a little too hard. And my body felt it after a while, which leads me into the number one thing that I had done wrong: recovery. And recovery, I'm not talking about just physical recovery, I'm also talking about mental recovery. I tend to use running as a stress reliever, and which does help. It exudes so much of that stress that I get throughout the day, and it's a very, dare I say it, but cheap and effective way to relieve stress. Not only do you become a healthier person by running, but you also are able to get those stressors out of your body while going out for that run. But the other parts of recovery also has to do with mental recovery after the run. There's a lot of times that we wake up in the morning as runners and you aren't really motivated to go out for a run. You wake up, you're starting to do your stretches and you're going, man, I just don't feel like doing this today. I just don't feel in it. Don't force yourself to run. Don't force yourself to run that day. Because if you're forcing yourself to run, it doesn't set you up for a really good day to begin with, whether you're about to go to work or whether you're about to spend time with your family or on a weekend where you've got a bunch of projects that you've got to get done. Don't run, because it's going to hurt you mentally the rest of the day if you are not motivated to run. You have to be motivated to run. You have to wake up, or you have to get up and say, you know what, I really feel like going out for a run. It's a beautiful day out. I feel motivated. I feel energized. Yes, let's go for a run. But if you wake up and you're just kind of, oh, man, you're dreading it, don't go out for a run. I mean, keep yourself motivated. Tell yourself that you do eventually need to go for a run, but don't go out for a run that day, because if you're not motivated, you're not going to run right. You're not going to get in that rhythm. And that, I think that's important as well. And obviously the physical recovery. If your body is starting to break down, your knees are bothering you, your hips are bothering you, your muscle groups are just not feeling good. And I'll be honest with you, that's how I am today. I attempted to go out for a run, again, mentally just trying to push myself because I'm trying to take advantage of this beautiful weather we're having right now. But I'll be honest with you, I took a few steps, not even running, just walking. And it was, no matter what stretching I did, no matter what I was working on, I couldn't get my knee to stop hurting. It is sore. And I've learned at that point, if that's how you're feeling before you even go out for a run, don't push yourself. Use the entire day to help recover. Kind of do what you can to keep yourself, your leg or whatever elevated. Try to relax a little bit. Don't push yourself. Do what you need to do, but don't push yourself so hard that you're going to keep that knee or whatever is bothering you hurting. But give yourself a chance to recover. I think that's an important part that a lot of us tend to forget about, is we've got to give ourselves time to recover. We have to recover both mentally, we have to recover physically. That is a huge part of running and being just physically active anyways. We need to do that. And I've made that mistake where I was running 14 to 21 days straight without a break, and my body would break down, but I wouldn't listen to my body. I'd just keep going and keep going. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. But eventually, either mentally I broke down or physically I broke down. And a lot of times when the physicality breaks down, that means that you have probably caused an injury that is going to take an even longer time to recover. So the best bet is to just rest. If you're not feeling good, you don't want to injure yourself any further, that could take weeks to recover. Take that day, take that time and rest. So recovery is a huge thing. So I hope you enjoyed the video of my top 5 reasons for running and the common mistakes that I've made, that I've seen other people make. And again, I hope you enjoyed the video. If this has helped you, please like, hit the subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the section below. And as always, enjoy the run.